honestly, I'm not that crazy about the form, but it's grown on me because and I changed my last lesson into a unit because it just kept getting bigger and bigger. So now it's actually a whole unit on personal statements. You can just that's the one from last week.
So that's the one we're doing the function on, right?
It's the whole thing, yeah.
The whole thing, right? Okay.
I mean, that's last week's lesson and this week's lesson that I did. So it's kind of combined, and I need to add some stuff to it before I turn it in. But it's gone from being this really annoying document for me to being one that I appreciate.
Lesson plans, yeah. I really wish I had the time to design one for every day, every hour, but...
Yeah, I know that's not realistic, because a long time ago in our program, we had to interview teachers. I interviewed 3 different teachers about lesson plans and asked them about that, and they're just like, yeah, no, I don't do lesson plans for every... It just doesn't, it's not realistic.
No, it's not.
But they all 3 sent me a example of lesson plans. They were all completely different, of course, and it's just interesting to see. I think they call these debriefings.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, is it going?
It's going.
Oh, sweet.
Hi, Maureen.
All right.
So if we just think about the last 2 days, and I think we should talk about like the stumbles and then the like redo.
You were on top of it, so let's hear what you had to say.
Well, yesterday I felt like I was totally organized. Like I told you, I stayed up late and I had like a document to display. Like you had said, you know, I tried to just put up like just the bullets of, you know, I had that. When I got here, I couldn't find it, and you saw the drive problems I was having. I think that was it. It was on my PC, but I couldn't get it to, so that's like a technical problem, right? That's one of those things that, yeah, it's gonna, it's a little bit of a challenge for me here because when I come to school early, I cannot get into your room because the only person that can let me in supposedly is Bernie, and he's in with the tardy party. And so really my only option, unless I throw a hissy fit, is to go, I just go up to the lounge and I try to, you know, get some stuff done and
so
make
I
copies
will,
or whatever.
I will talk to Stephanie tomorrow, but I'm going to send an email. I won't CC you because I'm going to be a little mean about getting you a key. Okay. We'll see what happens. We can only do so much.
Yeah.
You know, administration.
Anyway, but so I had a thing to, now I'm starting to call them the, I'm labeling my file like what it's project, what I'm going to project up here, which is separate from what I'm going to give the students. Anyway, I had something to project. I had those handwritten essays to hand out. I had those. I'm trying to think, what was the other thing I didn't have? Yeah, I couldn't find the rubric, you know, did I not have the rubric? No, I had the rubric.
No, you had made copies. Remember you asked me to reprint it for you because you had made copies and you're like,
I couldn't find my
happens
copies.
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't find my copies.
So
I got pretty flustered.
Yeah, I saw.
And like I was just telling Bernie, he was asking me how it was going. I'm like, oh, fine, you know, and I said yesterday was hard because everything kind of went wrong. And with my lesson, I said, you know, the students didn't care. And they didn't. I mean, it wasn't like they were totally goofing off, but it definitely did not flow the way I had intended for it to flow.
I know, you were like, this is not the way I imagined this. And I'm like, it's okay, it happens.
And then some of the copies that were made were missing pages. So a student's reading the essay and then they can't do the work because they don't have all the material, and then I was just like,
how that's happened
okay.
to me. Yeah.
So that's why at the end I was like, you know what? This was a really good lesson, and the students didn't get the benefit of it because of the logistical problems. So I just want to do it again. So we did get through the first part of it, where they were supposed to read it, evaluate it in teams, but because I was distracted, I didn't feel like I was keeping a good eye on the class to see, because I had 3 tables that participated and 4 tables that didn't. And that kind of frustrated me, but I was just like, didn't feel in a position to come down on them because it just wasn't flowing. And I was like going back and forth on the table and like, and the other thing that really messed things up was that they got Chromebooks. I'm trying to think of why they even got them in the first place. Okay, back up. I didn't hear the bell ring. I didn't even start class until about 6 minutes into class, and I kept thinking, because I was having organizational problems, I didn't really question it. But then when I looked up and saw the clock, I'm like, oh, shit, I got to start class. So we started late, and they had Chromebooks. A couple of students asked me, and I could tell they were sincerely like, oh, I really want to look at my grade. And so I said, okay. And that kind of opened that floodgate, I guess. So there were a lot of Chromebooks out, and then I wanted them to be off the Chromebooks completely and switch gears. And because I was not organized, I didn't feel really strongly about saying, put the Chromebooks away. I have nothing for you to do, but I just don't want you to have them. And when I'd go around, most students were looking at their grades. So then I'm like, okay, I think I kind of need to go with this. Let them look at their grades. And then I had a bunch of students then say, the snowball effect, how can I get, I'm missing this lesson and this lesson, and we've talked about that whole thing and how you organize it. So that was it was just kind of it felt more disastrous in my head than it truly was, I think. But I didn't feel like they really came away with what I wanted them to come away with.
So, yeah, what you just said is correct, right? Like, to you, this is all a nightmare, but it wasn't really that bad.
Right.
These are all just normal logistical things that happen, and they could be solved with, like, super tiny management things. So, the bell schedule, that's not your fault. Obviously, our bells are working sometimes they're not, sometimes they're off, so
yeah,
this is
I
kind of
didn't hear
ridiculous.
it this morning. Either second or
So
third.
one thing that we can do is, because I was brainstorming while you were talking, is maybe we can set up our own phone alarms, or I can get some sort of alarm for the class so we can keep track of that, or we can ask a student to be a timekeeper. Okay.
One thing that would really help me is to get a bigger size schedule for me to look up and see.
I could do that for you. Okay.
But I don't know how we make it any bigger than that. I mean, I guess you could print it out on different pieces of paper.
Don't worry, I'll get it handled.
Okay. Because I am used to, I am a little bit of a clock watcher, and it's probably shocking to you, but I have deprogrammed myself from that in here because I don't know what time the class ends. I can never remember. So, and it's causing a problem.
Yeah.
Because then the end of the class comes and I'm not.
Yeah, well, especially if you're conferencing with someone and you're really into it, So, okay, we'll do that. We'll get a bigger bell schedule, and then we'll figure out if maybe we get an alarm and a timekeeper. Students always like to have responsibilities. So
right.
So that's good. So one thing I was looking at is, when I used to do this was the biggest problem too, was individual conferences with students over their essays. It's A, very hard to teach writing. B, it's even harder to teach such kind of advanced college application essays and stuff like that. I have a couple of really good research articles on professors who have done this before and their advice.
Mm-hmm.
Really, chunking is a really good method to do that because it can get very overwhelming for you to sit down, read these entire essays, and then of course your conferences are going to be 20-25 minutes
right.
with each student because there's so much going on, right? And then you're like, shit, I only got through one student, or I only got through 2 students, and there's 25 more. So there are a couple of different ways to do this. You can, I have a little timer. It's a little owl.
Oh.
Here. You can use a timer as in, all right, let me just have 5 minutes with a student.
Mhm.
Let's pick the biggest problems, have them address that, and
Okay.
keep reconferencing like that. Instead of spending 25 minutes kind of going, okay, you know, you got to check your grammar, but wait, now you have no voice in your writing, and this and that. Like, it can become overwhelming for you and the student. And then you may want to consider chunking as in splitting the entire paper apart. And you can do that with mini lessons, and I found that in the past to be very successful. It's easier to manage for grading. I find a lot of benefits in tackling different aspects of writing that need to be tackled because, you know, I noticed that you were noticing there are grammar problems, there are punctuation problems, there are spelling problems, there's this, there's that. There are so many problems to be addressed. If you were to chunk an essay and say, okay, let's start with, let me give you a quick lesson on what a strong introduction paragraph would look like. Have them do it maybe in pieces. And then for, like, let's say for one portion of that you could grade them based on participation. For another, it could be quality of writing. It can be easier for you to handle as well, so you're not swamped with 30 essays to grade. Because what I was concerned with, the thing I'm concerned with is tomorrow when those essays are due. And even though I'm here and can help, you're going to be alone completely alone at some point, and then have to turn around.
Oh, their essays, yeah.
And that is the most overwhelming thing. And you shouldn't, you know, I'm really strongly against teachers taking home grading all the time, and like on the weekends, because you're going to burn out, and that's not fair. Like, it's already enough. So to manage kind of those bigger assignments better, you may want to think about that.
Yeah, you know what? I hadn't thought about that. I wonder if it makes sense to grade it. I'm just looking for the rubric. Grade it on, you know, like instead of grading it on all 5 areas, just grade it on maybe 2.
You could do that.
It might be more fair to them as well, because
so that's
there's going to be there's going to be a lot of poor grades otherwise. I hadn't really thought about that.
Right. So you could, you know, and you are always like, there's nothing says you have to go with what you had imagined, especially if you see that some things may be unfair for them or it's not going as planned. You could say, all right, folks, because of these and these reasons, like I switched gears. We're gonna move in a different direction now because there are certain things that I know we didn't take enough time on or whatever.
Right.
So at this point, you just have to figure out what you think is fair.
Okay.
And you don't have to take this assignment and say, okay, like this is your final, and you got to turn around all those things, especially because a lot of students didn't get conferences and whatnot.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's just something to think about.
Yeah, that's a really good suggestion. I love it. Okay. All right. So maybe I should just grade it on the top thing, focus and details.
That's
4
perfect.
would be there's one clear, well-focused topic, main ideas are clear and well-supported. Like if they did that, that would be huge.
Right, so this is a great idea. So essentially at the end of the next 6 weeks, what you could do is chunk the rubric itself and say, this week we're going to focus on organization, not wearing glasses. You know, until the end of the 6 weeks where it's really when the class completely ends, because it's only a 12-week class, they're going to have a really beautiful, comprehensive, nice essay, and you know that they've guaranteed basically that they've hit all of these expectations.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Okay, cool. Yay.
Chromebooks. Oh, grades. Yeah. Okay. So welcome to madness. What we could do in the future, and I've done this in the past, is and I do this in my lesson book where I plan like ahead. I usually do a grade check that I allow them to spend about half an hour in class, checking their grades and asking me for any missing work.
Oh, okay.
But I do this maybe twice in the grading period.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't allow them to do it in class. Like, you have access to the portal. If they need help with access to the portal, I'll help them, you know, but usually in between classes or after school. Because it creates chaos, like you saw. Miss Moore, I'm missing this, can you get it? No, not, this is class time. So that becomes your after school responsibility, and if you can't come after school, then we need to make an arrangement. Okay, but I'm so strict about this because you have these students who like just get up in the middle of class, like, what am I missing? It's like, you're going to miss a hell of a lot more if you keep doing this, you know? So we can look ahead and see when we're going to do that. But you could just cut it off and say, this is, like, I really appreciate you wanting to know your grade, and I'm proud of you for keeping on top of things, but you can fall behind by doing that right now. So let's say that for after school. And that's all. And,
well, the Google Classroom thing that you set up is going to really help us with that, right?
So excited. Yes.
Because when they ask, we'll just be like, Google Classroom.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
So it
kind
might
of
take
what I'd love to get to.
Right. It might take about a week for us
Yeah,
to.
it will.
I'm guessing for about a week to get really comfortable with it. But yeah, that's been a dream of mine, and finally I'm like, gotta do it. I already have a document. Anyway, so those I think would be maybe some good problem solving to some of the issues that came up. If you ever lose a document, it happens all the time. Don't freak out. Pull up Microsoft Word, write the instructions on there. Happens all the time. In like when things are so confusing and hectic, so it's human mind, like just forgets, or or you got technical difficulties.
Right.
Like at some point I stopped troubleshooting and I'm like, all right, this is now I'm wasting time. Like I won't spend more like than a minute or something like that.
Right.
I'm trying to retrieve something that I lost, or like I don't know where it went or whatever. I just go, all right, like what's game plan number 2? Like and figure this out. Whip up like Microsoft Word. All right, and I will literally put up a Word document and like talking to them and writing, okay guys, here's your instructions for the day. So like, right, to keep them engaged and never have them just sitting going like, what are we gonna do? So you just fake it to make it. So that's always an option. As far as copies getting screwed up, that happens all the time.
Right.
The only thing you could do is, check them, and if a lot of times we don't have time to check them, so if it happens again, game plan 2, A great asset you have, and we have in this classroom, are the Chromebooks. So if all else fails, hey, students, everybody, go get a Chromebook. Go on, whatever, for health class, go on health.com, pick an article that there are all sorts of different backup plans that you can do.
Right.
As long as you have the ideas in the back of your mind, kind of all the time, when you're like, oh shit, like, there's no worksheet, there's no article printed, there's no this, I don't have any, grab a Chromebook, like, here's what you can do, something creative, and they're going to write me a 1-page reflection on it, like,
right.
You can always do that.
That's a good idea. Okay.
So you're not stressed. Other than that, I thought it was super cool. I'm so impressed by the fact that yesterday you were like, this sucks. Like, this, I did not want this to go like this. I was like, okay, it's okay. It wasn't that bad. But you were just, like, on top of it and came in today and you're like, I redid everything. And I'm like, that's amazing. I even told Stephanie the other day, I was like, Lori's incredible. Like, she fixes her own mistakes all the time. Like,
Did she say she had experience with that? Because she does.
Gosh, no, it was really impressive. Like, the next morning you're like, I'm reteaching this. I'm like, okay. You're like, no, I'm reteaching it because it didn't go well. Okay, reteach it. That's such amazing teaching. That's so advanced and just so cool, and it means you care, and it was just awesome.
Thank you. Well, I thought it was a really cool lesson, so I was so like,
it is.
Oh, it just kind of went here. I'm like, no, we're doing it.
You're your own worst critic. It was not like what you thought it was. It was not. But it was just really cool to watch this morning. You're like, oh, screw that. Like, so that was nice. So I thought it was great.
Cool. Thank you. I think we can be done now.
We're done.
I know this is foreign to us, but
I know we had to zoom through that, right? I
see how we did. That was 20 minutes.